I'm Victoria, I'm 32 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I woke up to the smell of gunpowder from a deployed airbag and the taste of copper in my mouth. Before I tell you about the inheritance that changed hands and the family empire that crumbled in a single afternoon, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel. It happened on a Tuesday. I was driving my 5-year-old Honda Civic. Not a Porsche, not a Mercedes, just a reliable, safe car that I'd paid off years ago. I was heading to the grocery store. My daughter, Emma, was 6 weeks old. Thank God, thank every star in the sky, she wasn't in the car. I had left her with Mrs. Higgins, my neighbor. Mrs. Higgins is 72, with arthritis in her hands and a heart of gold, but she can't handle a newborn for more than an hour. She gets tired. Her hands shake when she tries to warm a bottle. I knew I had 45 minutes, tops, to get formula and diapers and get back. I was crossing the intersection at 4th and Main when the world turned sideways. A delivery truck ran the red light. He was doing 60. I didn't even have time to brake. I saw the grill of the truck, a flash of white, and then impact. Metal screamed. That's the only way to describe it. It sounded like the car was shrieking in pain. My Honda spun across 4 lanes of traffic. Glass shattered, raining down on me like hail. When the car finally stopped, I was upside down. The seatbelt was digging into my chest so hard I couldn't breathe. I remember the silence first. Then, the sirens. Paramedics were there fast. They were cutting the door off. A woman's face appeared in the gap where my window used to be. She had kind eyes, crow's feet around them. Brenda. I learned her name later. Can you hear me? She asked. My baby, I wheezed. My chest felt like it was on fire. Emma. Is the baby in the car? Her voice spiked with panic. No. Home. Neighbor. Can't stay long. They pulled me out. The pain was blinding. My collarbone was snapped. 3 ribs were broken. My head was pounding with a rhythm that made me want to vomit. They strapped me to a gurney and loaded me into the back of the ambulance. We're taking you to County General, Brenda said, hooking me up to N4. You have a severe concussion and possible internal bleeding. We need to move. Phone, I whispered. I need my mom. Brenda hesitated, then handed me my phone. The screen was cracked, a spiderweb of glass over the display, but it still worked. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hit the contact. Mom. She answered on the 3rd ring. Victoria. I'm at the spa, honey. I'm just about to go in for my seaweed wrap. Make it quick. I heard the background noise. Enya playing softly. The clink of cucumber water glasses. Peace. Luxury. Mom, I rasped. Tears were mixing with the blood on my face. I've been in an accident. A bad one. The car is totaled. I'm in an ambulance. There was a pause. Then a sigh. A heavy, irritated sigh. The kind you give when a telemarketer calls during dinner. Oh, Victoria. Are you sure it's that serious? You know how you tend to be dramatic about these things. Remember when you thought you had appendicitis, and it was just gas? Mom, they had to cut me out of the car, I said, my voice rising, panic setting in. I have broken ribs. A head injury. They're worried about brain bleeding. Okay. Well, that's terrible. Do you have insurance? Mom, listen to me. Emma is with Mrs. Higgins. She can't watch her long. Mrs. Higgins is 72. Emma needs to be fed. She needs. I need you to go get her. Please. Just pick her up and keep her until Marcus gets home. Marcus, my husband, was in Dallas. He's a regional manager for a logistics company. He was in the middle of the most important presentation of his career. He wouldn't be able to land for at least 5 hours. Victoria, Mom said, her voice sharpening. I can't do that. What? I can't pick up Emma. Your father and I are leaving tomorrow morning for the Caribbean cruise. We have the pre-cruise luxury package today. It's already paid for. If I leave now, I miss my wrap, and then we have the dinner with the captain's club tonight. We've been planning this for 8 months. I stared at the ceiling of the ambulance. The lights blurred. Mom. I am in an ambulance. Your granddaughter is with a frail neighbor. This is an emergency. Well, your sister never has these emergencies, she snapped. There it was. The comparison. Bella. The golden child. Vanessa has 2 children, Mom continued, and she has never once called me in a panic about a car accident or a crisis. She's organized. She's responsible. You need to be more like her. Something in my chest cracked, and it wasn't just my broken ribs. It was the last thread of hope I'd been holding onto for 32 years. I didn't plan to get hit by a truck running a red light, Mom. Well, you should have contingency plans. That's what responsible parents do. I can't just drop everything every time you have a problem. Your father and I deserve this vacation. We've worked hard our entire lives. We're not going to let your poor planning ruin our trip. Poor planning. I closed my eyes. Mom, please. Just 3 hours. Just until I can figure something out. No, Victoria. Look, I have to go. My wrap is getting cold. Call one of your friends. Or hire a babysitter. You make good money, don't you? Problem solved. Mom, goodbye, Victoria. I hope you feel better. The line went dead. I stared at the phone. The disconnect tone hummed in my ear. Brenda, the paramedic, was watching me. She had checked my vitals while I was on the phone. She heard everything. She didn't say a word, but she reached out and squeezed my hand. Her grip was firm, warm, grounding. Do you have anyone else? She asked gently. I scrolled through my contacts. My best friend Alicia was in Seattle. Marcus's parents were in Arizona, too far to help in time. My breath hitched. I was going to the hospital with a brain injury, and my 6-week-old baby was essentially alone. Then I remembered. When I was pregnant, I had researched emergency childcare options. Just in case. I was, contrary to my mother's belief, a planner. I had saved a card in my digital wallet. Elite Newborn Care. 24/7 emergency services. I need to make one more call, I told Brenda. My fingers were trembling so hard, I dropped the phone on my chest. I picked it up and dialed. Elite Newborn Care, this is Monica. How can I help you? I need help, I choked out. I'm in an ambulance. Car accident. My 6-week-old daughter is at a neighbor's house. The neighbor is elderly. I need someone now. Someone qualified. Someone who can stay as long as necessary. Monica's voice instantly shifted. Calm. Professional. Reassuring. We can have someone there in 45 minutes. Where is the baby located? I gave her Mrs. Higgins' address. Our specialist, Claudia, is in the area. She's a registered nurse with 15 years of newborn care experience. She is fully background checked and insured. She will meet the neighbor, take over care of Emma, and stay with her until your husband arrives. Do you authorize this? Yes, I sobbed. Yes, please. It is a premium service, ma'am. Our emergency rate is $75 per hour with a 4-hour minimum. We'll need a credit card on file. I don't care, I said. Just send her. Please. I rattled off my card number from memory. Claudia is on her way, Monica said. Focus on getting better, Mom. We've got your baby. She's safe. I hung up and let the phone slide from my hand. I started to cry. Not from the pain in my shoulder but from the relief. And the realization. A stranger named Monica and a nurse named Claudia were doing for $75 an hour what my own mother wouldn't do for free. My mother chose a seaweed wrap over her granddaughter's safety. Brenda wiped a tear from my cheek with a piece of gauze. You did good, she whispered. You handled it. She didn't care, I whispered back. She just didn't care. Family isn't always blood, Brenda said, checking my drip. Sometimes family is just the people who show up. As the ambulance backed into the bay at County General, I made a silent vow. If I survived this, if I made it out of this hospital, things were going to change. I didn't know it yet, but the universe was already lining up the dominoes. And my mother had just pushed the first one. The ER was a blur of bright lights and beeping machines. Doctors swarmed. Someone was cutting my shirt off. Someone else was shouting orders for a CT scan. The pain medication they gave me started to take the edge off the agony, turning it into a dull, throbbing roar in the background. But my mind was crystal clear. They wheeled me into a quiet room after the scans for observation. They were worried about a subdural hematoma. I had to stay awake. Lying there staring at the sterile white ceiling tiles, I couldn't stop replay the conversation with my mother. We've worked hard our entire lives. That sentence kept echoing in my head. It made me want to laugh, but laughing hurt my ribs too much. Worked hard. I closed my eyes and let the memories wash over me. The ghost of sacrifices passed. 9 years ago. I was 23. Fresh out of college, landing my first big job as a marketing analyst. I was so proud. I had a starting salary that felt like a fortune to a girl who grew up wearing hand-me-downs. I remembered sitting at the kitchen table in my parents' house. My dad, Robert, had his head in his hands. My mom, Eleanor, was weeping into a tissue. We're going to lose the house, Victoria, Mom had sobbed. Your father's hours got cut. The mortgage, we're 3 months behind. The bank is calling every day. My heart had broken for them. I loved my parents. I wanted to help. How much? I had asked. The mortgage and the car payments, it's about $4,500 a month, Dad said, not looking up. $4,500. It was almost my entire paycheck after taxes. But I was young. I was single. I could live cheaply. I could get a studio apartment. I could eat ramen. I'll pay it, I had said. Mom looked up, eyes wide. You? But Victoria, that's so much money. I'll do it. I'll set up a direct transfer. Every month. You won't lose the house. I remembered the hug she gave me. She smelled like cheap lavender soap back then. You're an angel, Victoria. Our angel. For 9 years. 108 months. I never missed a payment. Even when I got married. Even when we wanted to buy our own house. Even when I was pregnant and we needed a nursery. $4,500 a month. $54,000 a year. $486,000 total. Nearly $500,000. And the worst part? The lie. Mom had insisted we keep it a secret. It's embarrassing for your father, she had said. We don't want the neighbors to know we're struggling. So they told everyone, Mrs. Higgins, the church group, and Sarah, that Dad's pension had suddenly increased due to an administrative error correction. They told people they were flush with cash from Dad's hard work. And they spent like it. I watched over the years as my mortgage assistance turned into lifestyle funding. They bought a new SUV. Not a used one, a brand new loaded Ford Explorer. They started going on vacations. Hawaii. Napa Valley. And now, this Caribbean cruise. Meanwhile, Marcus and I drove used cars. We lived in a modest townhouse. We delayed starting a college fund for Emma because Grandma and Grandpa need help. I lay in that hospital bed, tears leaking from the corners of my eyes. I had paid for that seaweed wrap. I had paid for the deposit on that cruise. I had paid for the roof over their heads so they could feel secure enough to reject me. The door to my room burst open. Victoria. It was Marcus. He looked like he'd run a marathon. His suit was rumpled, tie askew, sweat dripping down his forehead. He was holding a carry-on bag. "Babe," I whispered. He dropped the bag and rushed to the bedside, his hands hovering over me, afraid to touch where it hurt. "Oh my God. Look at you." I came as soon as I landed. I didn't even wait for the rental car, I took an Uber. "Your presentation," I said weakly. "The Dallas deal." "Screw the presentation," Marcus said, his voice fierce. I walked out. I told them my wife was in the hospital. If they don't like it, they can fire me. He kissed my forehead, right next to the bandage where I'd been stitched up. "How is Emma? Is she okay?" "She's with a nurse. A hired nurse. At Mrs. Higgins." Marcus pulled back, confused. "A hired nurse? Why?" I thought, "Didn't you call your mom?" I took a shaky breath. "I called her. She said no." "She said what?" "She said she has a seaweed wrap. And a cruise tomorrow. She said I was being dramatic." Marcus stood up straight. His face went pale, then red. I had never seen my husband truly angry. He's a calm man. A patient man. But in that moment, his eyes darkened. She refused to pick up her granddaughter during a medical emergency because of a spa appointment. Yes. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing the small room. That is unconscionable. I don't care if she has a meeting with the Pope. You were in a car accident. She said Bella never has emergencies, I added, the hurt bubbling up again. She said I need to be more organized. Marcus stopped pacing. He looked at me, and I saw the realization hit him. We have been sending them $4,500 a month for 9 years, he said quietly. I nodded. Marcus knew about the money. He wasn't happy about it, but he accepted it because I begged him to. Because I told him they would be destitute without it. We delayed buying a house for 3 years for them, Marcus said, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. We drive a 2018 Honda, and a 2016 Toyota Southwest. They can drive a 2024 Explorer. We barely have a rainy day fund because we are their rainy day fund. I know, I whispered. And when it finally rained, Marcus said, looking me dead in the eye, they didn't even bring an umbrella. They just let you get soaked. That analogy hit me harder than the airbag. I'm sorry, Marcus, I sobbed. I'm so sorry. I thought I was buying their love. I thought if I saved them, they would value me. He softened immediately. He sat on the edge of the bed and took my uninjured hand. It's not your fault, Vic. You have a good heart. You're a good daughter. They are takers. And takers don't have limits. They just take until there's nothing left. I'm done, I said. The words tasted strange on my tongue, but powerful. Marcus, I'm done. Done with what? The money. The payments. The pretending. I reached for my phone on the bedside table. My arm screamed in protest, but I ignored it. What are you doing? Marcus asked. I'm getting my return on investment, I said. Or rather, I'm stopping the investment. I opened my banking app. Face ID recognized my swollen face after a second try. I navigated to the Scheduled Transfers tab. There it was. Mom and Dad help. Next transfer scheduled, tomorrow. $4,500. My thumb hovered over the trash can icon. For a second, fear gripped me. The old fear. The fear of disappointing them. The fear of Dad's sad eyes. The fear of Mom's guilt trips. They'll lose the house, a voice in my head whispered. Then I heard Mom's voice again. My wrap is getting cold. I pressed delete. Confirm cancellation of recurring transfer. Yes. I looked at Marcus. It's done. Good, he said. Now put that phone away and rest. The doctor said you need sleep. Not yet, I said. My fingers were flying across the screen. I'm opening a new savings account. Vic. I'm naming it Emma's Future. I set up a new recurring transfer. $4,500 a month. From our checking account to this new high-yield savings account. In 18 years, I told Marcus, showing him the screen, she will have almost $1 million for college. For a house. For whatever she wants. She will never have to pay for anyone's love. Marcus smiled, and it was the first real smile I'd seen since he walked in. That's my girl. Just then, there was a knock on the door. We both looked up, expecting a nurse or a doctor. Instead, a tall, older man stood in the doorway. He was wearing a wool cardigan despite the heat, and he was leaning heavily on a cane. His white hair was neatly combed, and his blue eyes were sharp as tack. Grandpa. I gasped. It was Grandpa Joe. My mother's father. He walked in slowly, the tap-tap-tap of his cane echoing on the linoleum. He looked at me, took in the bandages, the bruising. His jaw tightened. Mrs. Higgins called me, he said, his voice gravelly but strong. She was worried. Said you were hurt bad. I'm okay, Grandpa. I'm going to be okay. He pulled a chair close to the bed, ignoring Marcus's offer to help. He sat down with a groan, resting his hands on the head of his cane. Mrs. Higgins told me something else, he said. He looked at Marcus, then back to me. She said she heard you on the phone with Patricia. She said Patricia wouldn't come. I looked down at my lap. She has a cruise, Grandpa. She was busy. Busy, Grandpa Joe repeated. The word sounded like a curse coming from him. Busy getting a seaweed wrap. My head snapped up. How did you know that? Grandpa Joe's eyes narrowed. Because I just left her house. I went there to get the keys to check on your dad's mail while they were away. She was bragging about it. Said she barely had time to pack because of her spa day. Did she tell you I called? I asked. He shook his head. No. She didn't mention you at all. She just talked about the suite on the ship. The balcony. The premium drink package. He leaned forward. Victoria, look at me. I met his gaze. Did my daughter really refuse to help you and Emma today? Yes, I whispered. She said I was being dramatic. She said it was poor planning on my part. Grandpa Joe closed his eyes. He took a deep breath through his nose. When he opened his eyes again, they were cold. Ice cold. I see, he said. Well. That changes things. It's okay, Grandpa, I said, trying to soothe him. I didn't want him to have a heart attack. I hired a nurse. Emma is safe. Marcus is here now. It is not okay, he said firmly. It is a disgrace. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a sleek, black smartphone. He's surprisingly tech-savvy for 78. Victoria, he said, tapping the screen. There is something you need to know about that cruise. What about it? Patricia and Robert didn't pay for it. I frowned. What? Mom said they saved up. She said they worked hard for it. Grandpa Joe let out a short, dry laugh. Saved up? Your parents haven't saved a dime in 10 years. I paid for it. It was my anniversary gift to them. $12,000 for the royal suite. The heir left the room. You paid for it? Marcus asked. Every penny, Grandpa Joe said. And I think I need to make a phone call. The revelation hung in the air like smoke. Grandpa Joe had funded the very luxury that my mother used as an excuse to abandon me. Grandpa, I said, my mind racing. If you paid for the cruise, then where did their money go? Grandpa Joe looked at me, confused. What money? I looked at Marcus. He gave me a small nod. It was time. If we were burning bridges, we might as well torch the whole village. Grandpa, I said, bracing myself. There's something you don't know. Something I promised Mom I wouldn't tell anyone. He lowered his phone. Go on. For the last 9 years, ever since I got my first job at the marketing firm, I've been paying their mortgage. Grandpa Joe froze. Excuse me. And their car payments, I added. I send them $4,500 a month. Every month. For 9 years. Grandpa Joe sat very still. He looked like a statue. 4,500. Yes. But Patricia told me Robert's pension had an adjustment. She told everyone at the club that Robert made some smart investments in his 40s that were finally paying out. There was no investment, I said, the shame burning my cheeks. It was me. It was my salary. Marcus and we've paid them almost $500,000. Grandpa Joe turned to Marcus. Is this true, son? Yes, sir, Marcus said respectfully. $486,000 to be exact. We have the bank statements. Grandpa Joe's face turned a color I had never seen before. It wasn't red with anger. It was gray with shock. He did the math in his head instantly. They own that house outright, Grandpa mumbled. They paid off the mortgage 15 years ago. I know because I helped them with the final lump sum. My jaw dropped. What? They don't have a mortgage, Victoria, Grandpa said, his voice trembling. They haven't had a mortgage since 2009. I felt sick. Physically sick. The room spun. But she said the bank was calling. She cried. She said they would be on the street. They lied to you, Grandpa said. The sadness in his voice was profound. They lied to you to fund their lifestyle. Where did the money go then? I whispered. $4,500 a month. Where? Grandpa Joe looked out the window. Vanessa. My sister. Bella. Vanessa bought a house 3 years ago, Grandpa said slowly. A big one. In the gated community. She put down 20%. She drives a Lexus. She works part-time at a boutique, and her husband is a struggling artist. I always wondered how they afforded it. Mom told me Vanessa was just good with money, I said, feeling like a complete idiot. Your mother was funneling your money to your sister, Grandpa said. You were working to support Vanessa's pretension. It was a double betrayal. Not only had they extorted me, but they had given my hard-earned money to the golden child, the sister who mocked me, the sister who never had emergencies. I cancelled it, I said, my voice hard as stone. Just before you walked in. I cancelled the payments. Good, Grandpa said. He gripped his cane until his knuckles were white. But that is not enough. He tapped his phone screen again. What are you doing? I asked. I'm calling the cruise line. Grandpa, you don't have to. Quiet, Victoria. He put the phone to his ear. Yes, this is Joseph Miller. I purchased a royal suite package for Mr. and Mrs. Robert Davis for the sailing tomorrow. Confirmation number XYZ for -5-9. Yes. I need to cancel the booking. He paused, listening. I understand it's last minute. I understand the penalties. I don't care about the refund policy. Oh, I can get 50% back. Excellent. No, I do not want a travel credit. Put it back on my American Express. He looked at me while he spoke, his eyes fierce. Reason for cancellation. A family emergency. It seems the passengers have come down with a severe case of moral bankruptcy. He hung up. The cruise is gone, he stated. They're going to be at the dock tomorrow, Marcus said, a hint of awe in his voice. They're going to try to board. Let them try, Grandpa said. But I'm not done. He scrolled through his contacts again. Who are you calling now? I asked. Gerald Hoffman. I knew that name. Gerald Hoffman was the most expensive estate attorney in the city. He was Grandpa's lawyer. Grandpa, I said. What are you going to do? I have an estate worth roughly $4 million, Victoria, Grandpa said calmly. Stocks, bonds, the house in Pasadena, the rental properties. Your mother has always been the executor and the primary beneficiary. He pressed the call button. Gerald? It's Joe. I know it's late. I need you to meet me at County General Hospital immediately. Bring the notary. We are rewriting my will tonight. He looked at me, and his expression softened. She refused to give you 3 hours, he whispered. She stole 9 years of your income. She lied about the mortgage. She gave your sweat and tears to Vanessa. He shook his head. Tonight, she loses everything. The room was silent. The only sound was the steady beep 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 of my heart monitor, which was picking up speed. Then, my phone rang. The screen lit up. Mom. She's calling back, I said, staring at the screen like it was a bomb. Don't answer it, Marcus said. You don't need the stress. Grandpa Joe reached over. His hand, usually shaking with age, was steady now. He took the phone from the table. Answer it, he commanded. Put it on speaker. Grandpa, she's going to yell. She's going to be nasty. I'm counting on it, he said grimly. I want her to dig her own grave. And then I'm going to push her in. I looked at Marcus. He nodded. Do it, Vic. I slid my finger across the screen. Hello. Victoria. Mom's voice screeched through the speaker before I could even bring the phone closer. I cannot believe you hung up on me. That was incredibly rude. Grandpa Joe held a finger to his lips, signaling me to let her talk. He wanted evidence. He wanted the full display of her character. I'm sorry, Mom, I said, my voice flat. I was a little distracted by the doctors trying to determine if my brain was bleeding. Oh, stop it, she scoffed. I called Aunt Sarah, and she said you're probably just looking for attention. You know how you get. Always the martyr. I looked at Grandpa. His face was turning a shade of purple that worried me, but he signaled me to continue. Is that why you're calling? I asked. To tell me I'm a martyr? No. I'm calling because I tried to use the card you gave us for the extras on the ship, you know, the specialty dining and the spa upgrades, and it was declined. Did you change the limit? My mouth fell open. Marcus made a sound of disbelief in the back of his throat. She wasn't calling to check on me. She was calling because the credit card, an authorized user card on my account that I let her keep for groceries, wasn't working for her luxury add-ons. I canceled the card, Mom, I said. I reported it lost. You what? Victoria. How could you? We sail tomorrow. How are we supposed to pay for our excursions? Maybe use the mortgage money, I suggested, glancing at Grandpa. Don't be snippy, she snapped. Look, fix it. Call the bank right now. I'm at the nail salon and I need to pay. It's embarrassing. I'm in the hospital, I repeated. My ribs are broken. And my nail polish is wet. God, you are so selfish today. Just like when you were a teenager. Everything has to be about Victoria. Grandpa Joe couldn't take it anymore. He reached out and took the phone from my hand. He didn't just hold it, he gripped it like a weapon. Patricia, he said. His voice was low, deep, and terrifying. Silence on the other end. Absolute, stunned silence. Dad, her voice wavered. Dad, why do you have Victoria's phone? Because I am at her bedside, Grandpa Joe said. I am holding her hand. I am looking at the stitches in her forehead. I am doing the job that you refused to do. Dad, you don't understand, Mom started, her voice shifting instantly from aggressive to whining. She's exaggerating. She's fine. We have this trip. There is no trip, Grandpa cut her off. What? I cancelled it. 10 minutes ago. I called Royal Caribbean. I told them the purchasers had a family emergency. And since I am the purchaser, they listened to me. You cancelled our cruise. Her voice hit a pitch that could shatter glass. Dad. How could you? We've been planning this for months. I paid for it. Grandpa roared. The sound made the nurse peek her head in the door, but Marcus waved her away. I paid for it as a gift. A gift for a loving daughter and a supportive mother. You are neither. Dad, please. We're packed. We're ready to go. Then unpack, Grandpa said coldly. But that is the least of your problems right now, Patricia. What do you mean? She whimpered. I know about the mortgage, Grandpa dropped the bomb. The silence this time was heavy. Thick. Suffocating. I don't know what she told you, but she told me she has been sending you $4,500 a month for 9 years. To save your house. The house that I helped you pay off in 2009. Dad, we needed help. Things were tight. Liar. Grandpa yelled. I've seen your cars. I've seen your clothes. And I know about Vanessa's house. You took Victoria's money, blood money, money she earned while you sat around, and you gave it to Vanessa. Vanessa needed a start. Victoria has a good job, she could afford it. She drove a 10-year-old Honda. I shouted, unable to stay quiet. I drove a death trap while Vanessa drove a Lexus. Victoria, shut up, Mom hissed. This is family business. I am the family business now, Grandpa said. Listen to me closely, Patricia. Are you listening? Yes, Dad, she was crying now. Fake, panicked tears. I have called Gerald Hoffman. He is meeting me here in an hour. Gerald? The lawyer? Why? To rewrite my will. Dad, no. You can't. You promised. The house in Pasadena, the portfolio, that's our retirement. You stole your retirement from your daughter. Grandpa said. You have already spent your inheritance. You spent it 1 month at a time for 9 years. Dad, please. I'm your daughter. And she is mine. Grandpa pointed at me, even though Mom couldn't see. She is my granddaughter. And today, when she was bleeding and terrified, you chose a seaweed wrap. You called her a consequence. I didn't mean it. You have 24 hours, Grandpa said. His voice dropped to a deadly whisper. 24 hours to get your ass to this hospital. To walk into this room. To apologize to Victoria. To apologize to Marcus. To go to Mrs. Higgins' house and thank her for doing your job. And if I don't? Mom challenged, a hint of her old arrogance returning. You won't cut me out, Dad. You value family loyalty too much. Try me, Grandpa said. If you are not here by 8 p.m. tomorrow, everything, the house, the money, the bonds, the vintage car, it all goes to Victoria and Emma. Every single dime. You're bluffing. Tick-tock, Patricia, Grandpa said. You have 23 hours and 59 minutes. He hung up. He placed the phone gently on the bedside table. His hands were shaking now. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving an old man exhausted by the betrayal of his own child. Grandpa, I whispered. Are you okay? He looked at me, his eyes wet. No, sweetie. I'm not. I'm heartbroken. But I will fix this. I promise you. Marcus stood up and poured Grandpa a glass of water. She's not going to come, Joe. You know that, right? She's too proud. I know, Grandpa said, taking the water. She thinks I'm bluffing. She thinks I'm a senile old man who will forget by morning. He looked at the door. That's why I need the lawyer. Tonight. Just then, a man in a suit walked in, carrying a briefcase. He looked out of place in the sterile hospital room, but he walked with purpose. Joe, he said, nodding. Gerald, Grandpa said. Thank you for coming. I brought the notary, Gerald said, gesturing to a woman behind him. You said it was urgent. It is, Grandpa said. I need to disinherit my daughter. Completely. And I want to make sure it's ironclad. No loopholes. No contests. Gerald opened his briefcase. Let's get to work. The next 24 hours were a surreal mix of physical pain and legal precision. While I drifted in and out of sleep, fighting the headache that felt like a sledgehammer, Grandpa Joe and Gerald Hoffman turned my hospital room into a war room. They sat in the corner, speaking in hushed tones about trusts, beneficiaries, and irrevocable clauses. Marcus stayed by my side, holding my hand, feeding me ice chips. He was my anchor. The deadline was 8 p.m. By 7 p.m., my phone had blown up. But not with apologies. Texts from Dad, you're tearing this family apart. Fix this with your grandfather. He's not thinking clearly. Texts from Vanessa, I heard you brainwashed Grandpa. You're disgusting. You have plenty of money, why do you need his too? Mom is devastated. Calls from Aunt Sarah, ungrateful child. Not one text asked how I was. Not one asked about Emma. 7:55 p.m. Grandpa Joe sat in the chair facing the door. He was dressed in the same clothes as yesterday, looking tired but resolute. The signed documents were in a folder on his lap. 5 minutes, he said. She's not coming, Grandpa, I said softly. She's at home, playing the victim. She's probably telling everyone I manipulated you. I know, he said. I just wanted to give her the chance. For my own conscience. 8 p.m. came and went. The door remained closed. Grandpa Joe sighed. A long, rattling exhale that seemed to carry the weight of decades of parenting. He opened the folder, took out a pen, and signed the final page of an addendum that Gerald had left. It is done, he said. He looked at me. The house in Pasadena. It's worth $2 million. It's yours. The investment portfolio. Another 1.5. It's yours. The savings bonds for Emma. It's all yours. Grandpa, I don't want your money, I said, tearing up. I just wanted a mom who cared. I know, he said gently. And you can't buy that. But you can buy freedom. You can buy security for Emma. You can ensure that your daughter never has to pay anyone to love her. He stood up, groaning as his knees popped. I'm going to go home now, he said. I'm going to change the locks. And then I'm going to sleep. Grandpa, Marcus said. Come stay with us. Please. I don't want you alone in that big house tonight. What if they come over? Let them come, Grandpa said, a flash of steel returning to his eyes. I have a few things I'd like to say to them in person. But he agreed to go with Marcus to pick up Emma from Mrs. Higgins and stay the night at our place. Before he left, he leaned down and kissed my forehead. I am proud of you, Victoria, he said. You broke the cycle. It hurts now, but you broke it. As they left, I lay back in the bed. I felt lighter. The $486,000 was gone. I would never get it back. But the weight of obligation. The heavy, crushing burden of trying to please a woman who could not be pleased. That was gone too. I picked up my phone. I went to my contacts. Mom. Block caller. Dad. Block caller. Vanessa. Block caller. I put the phone down and closed my eyes. For the first time in 9 years, I wasn't anyone's ATM. I was just Victoria. And that was enough. You would think that losing an inheritance and being blocked would make people reflect on their behavior. You would be wrong. In psychology, there's a term called an extinction burst. It's what happens when you stop reinforcing a behavior. The subject doesn't just stop, they escalate. They scream louder. They throw a tantrum. They try to force the old system back into place. My family didn't just have a burst, they had a nuclear explosion. I was discharged 2 days later. Marcus brought me home. Walking into my living room and seeing Emma, safe, healthy, sleeping in her bassinet, was the best feeling of my life. I held her with my good arm and cried. But the peace didn't last. Grandpa Joe was staying in our guest room. He had hired a security guard for his property in Pasadena because Mom had shown up screaming at his gate, demanding to be let in. Since I had blocked them, they found other ways. Letters started arriving. Not mailed letters, hand-delivered notes stuck in our mailbox. Victoria, you have been brainwashed by Marcus. He is isolating you from your family. Call us immediately. Then, the flying monkeys came. Aunt Sarah, Mom's sister, showed up at my doorstep 3 days after I got home. My arm was in a sling. I was bruised and battered. I watched on the Ring camera as she pounded on the door. Victoria. Open this door. How dare you treat your mother this way? She is sick with worry. She has been crying for days. I spoke through the intercom. Go away, Aunt Sarah. You ungrateful little brat, she screamed, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. After everything they did for you. They raised you. They fed you. I fed them for 9 years. I shouted back. I paid for their house. Go ask Mom about the $486,000. Lies. All lies. Sarah yelled. Your mother told me you're having a mental breakdown from the accident. She wants to help you. She wants my money. I said. Get off my porch or I'm calling the police. She left but not before kicking over a potted plant. Then came the social media smear campaign. I logged onto Facebook to find a long, rambling post from Mom. She didn't tag me directly, but it was obvious. Heartbroken by the betrayal of a child I sacrificed everything for. Sometimes, money changes people. Sometimes, the people you love turn on you when they think they can get a bigger inheritance. Please pray for our family as we deal with this estrangement caused by greed and manipulation. Hundreds of comments. So sorry, Patricia. Kids these days are so entitled. Stay strong. I felt the urge to comment. To post the bank statements. To post the recording of the call where she refused to pick up Emma. But Marcus stopped me. Don't, he said. Don't wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. He was right. The worst blow, however, came from Vanessa. Bella. She didn't come to the house. She sent a courier with an invoice. An invoice. Inside was a letter. Victoria, since you have decided to cut Mom and Dad off, they can no longer help me with my mortgage. I am at risk of defaulting. Since this is your fault for manipulating Grandpa and stealing my inheritance, I expect you to cover the difference. You owe me $3,200 by the first of the month. Don't make me sue you for emotional distress. Vanessa, I stared at the letter. I actually laughed. It was a manic, disbelief-fueled laugh. She wants me to pay her mortgage now. I showed Grandpa the letter. Grandpa took it, read it, and then ripped it into tiny pieces. Emotional distress, he scoffed. Let her sue. I'll send Gerald Hoffman to court. He'll eat her alive. They really don't get it, do they? I asked. They really think they are the victims. That's the narrative they have to believe, Grandpa said. Because if they admitted the truth, that they used you, abandoned you, and robbed you, they wouldn't be able to look at themselves in the mirror. He put a hand on my shoulder. Let them scream, Victoria. Let them post on Facebook. Let them send letters. The locks are changed. The money is gone. And you are free. He was right. But freedom felt lonely at first. It felt like amputation. I had cut off a limb to save the body. But as I looked at Emma, sleeping peacefully, and Marcus, making dinner in the kitchen, and Grandpa Joe, reading the paper in my armchair, I realized something. I hadn't lost my family. I had just pruned the dead branches so the healthy ones could grow. The silence that followed the extinction burst was heavy, but it was the kind of heaviness that precedes a thunderstorm, charged, electric, and inevitable. For 2 weeks, I lived inside a fortress of my own making. We kept the blinds drawn. We screened every call. Grandpa Joe's security guard, a burly man named Mike, sat in a sedan at the end of our driveway, a silent sentinel against the chaos of my family. But reality has a way of crashing through even the thickest walls. And for my parents, reality arrived in a cream-colored envelope stamped with the bank's logo. It was a Tuesday morning, almost exactly 2 weeks after the accident. My collarbone was healing, the sharp, stabbing pain fading into a dull, manageable ache. I was feeding Emma in the nursery, watching the morning sun filter through the sheer curtains, when my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. Usually, I wouldn't answer. But the area code was local, and I was waiting for a call from the physical therapist. Hello. Victoria. My stomach dropped. It was Mom. She must have borrowed a phone, maybe a neighbor's or a prepaid burner. Her voice wasn't screeching this time. It wasn't the high-pitched wail of a victim. It was trembling. It was the sound of someone standing on the edge of a cliff and looking down. Mom, I said, my voice flat. I told you not to call me. Please don't hang up, she begged, the desperation raw and unfiltered. I'm not calling to fight. I'm not calling about the cruise. Victoria, something terrible has happened. I adjusted Emma in my arms, feeling the warmth of her small body against mine. It gave me strength. What is it? The mortgage payment, she whispered. The check, it bounced. The bank called this morning. They said insufficient funds. They charged us a $35 overdraft fee, but that's not the problem. They said if we don't pay by Friday, they're reporting it to the credit bureaus. They're talking about pre-foreclosure proceedings. I closed my eyes. Of course. They had lived on the edge for so long, using my money as a safety net, that they had absolutely no margin for error. I know, I said. You know. She sounded confused. But you can fix it, right? It must have been a glitch with your transfer. I checked the account and the money wasn't there. It wasn't a glitch, Mom, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. I told you. I canceled the payments. I told you that in the hospital. I thought you were just angry, she cried. I thought you were just making a point. You can't actually mean it, Victoria. You can't just stop. We have bills. We have the car lease. We have the club membership fees. The club membership, I repeated, almost laughing at the absurdity. Mom, listen to me very carefully. I am not your employer. I am not your bank. I am your daughter. And for 9 years I paid for a life you couldn't afford. But what are we supposed to do, she sobbed. Your father, he can't go back to work. He's 62. He has high blood pressure. Dad is 62, not 90, I said. And plenty of people work until they are 70. He's healthy enough to play golf 3 times a week. He's healthy enough to go on a cruise. We will lose the house. Then sell it, I said. The words felt harsh, but they were the truth. Sell the house, Mom. Sell the Explorer. Cancel the club membership. Live within your means. Like I do. Like everyone else does. You are heartless, she hissed, the sadness turning back into venom. I hope your daughter never treats you like this. My daughter, I said, looking down at Emma's sleeping face, will never be treated like an ATM. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up. This time, I didn't block the number. I just set the phone down and breathed. It was done. The umbilical cord of guilt was finally, completely severed. The fallout was swift and brutal. 3 weeks later, a for sale sign appeared on the lawn of my childhood home in Pasadena. It was a beautiful house, a sprawling mid-century modern that they had clung to as a symbol of their status. Seeing that sign in a photo sent to me by a friend gave me a pang of nostalgia, a ghost of a memory of Christmas mornings and birthday parties. But then I remembered the price of that house, my salary, my peace, my self-worth, and the nostalgia evaporated. Grandpa Joe kept me updated, though I didn't ask him to. He thought I needed to know the justice of the universe was working. They sold the Explorer, he told us one night over dinner. He was living in our guest room while his new condo, a beautiful place just 10 minutes away, was being renovated. Got hosed on the trade-in, apparently. They're driving a 5-year-old sedan now. Your mother is mortified to be seen in it. And the house? Marcus asked, passing the potatoes. Sold quickly. The market is hot, Grandpa said. But after they paid off the lines of credit they had secretly taken out against the equity, yes, Victoria, they had second mortgages you didn't know about, they didn't walk away with much. Just enough to buy a small 2-bedroom condo in the valley. The valley? I raised an eyebrow. Mom had always looked down on people who lived in the valley. It's a perfectly nice retirement community, Grandpa said, taking a sip of iced tea. But here is the kicker. Patricia got a job. I dropped my fork. Mom? Working. She's a cashier at a high-end grocery store, Grandpa said, unable to suppress a grim smile. She tells people she's doing it to stay active and socialize. But the truth is, they need the health insurance. I sat back in my chair, stunned. The woman who had refused to pick up my baby because she was getting a seaweed wrap was now scanning avocados and bagging groceries. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with that job, it was honest work. It was the sheer magnitude of the fall. From the royal suite to the checkout lane in less than 2 months. Do you feel guilty? Marcus asked me later that night as we lay in bed. I thought about it. I searched my heart for that familiar, gnawing ache of guilt that had driven me for a decade. I looked for the voice that said, "You're a bad daughter." It wasn't there. No, I whispered. I feel balanced. For the first time in my life, the scales are balanced. They are living the life they earned. And I am living the life I built. Meanwhile, our life was blooming. With the $4,500 staying in our accounts every month, the pressure in our chest vanished. We paid off our own car loans. We padded our emergency fund until it was a comfortable 6-month cushion. And the Emma's Future account grew. Every month, I got a notification, $4,500 transferred. It wasn't just money. It was choices. It was freedom. It was the knowledge that if Emma ever had a dream, medical school, art school, traveling the world, I could say yes without hesitation. I could be the parent who provided wings, not anchors. Grandpa Joe moved into his new condo 3 months after the accident. He was happier than I had ever seen him. He came over every Sunday for dinner. He would sit in the rocking chair, holding Emma, telling her stories about the war, about his late wife, about the business he built. One Sunday, he watched Emma trying to crawl on the living room rug. "You know," he said softly, "I always worried about your mother. I worried I spoiled her. I worried I made life too easy. And I was right. I crippled her by never letting her fail." He looked at me, his blue eyes sharp and clear. "You are doing it right, Victoria. You are loving this baby with everything you have, but you are also teaching her strength. I can see it. You stopped the cycle." "I had help," I said, smiling at Marcus, who was folding laundry on the sofa. "We all need help," Grandpa said. "The difference is, you asked for help to save your family. Your mother asked for help to avoid responsibility. There is a world of difference." Life settled into a rhythm. The seasons changed. Emma started crawling, then walking, then babbling her first words. Her first word was "Dada," which made Marcus cry. Her second word was "ball." We didn't hear from Vanessa. Not a peep. After the invoice incident, she had gone radio silent. I assumed she was drowning in her own financial mess, or maybe Mom and Dad were helping her with what little they had left. I didn't ask. I didn't look at her Instagram. She was a ghost from a past life. Or so I thought. 1 year. 365 days since the crash. The anniversary of the accident hit me harder than I expected. I woke up that morning with a phantom ache in my collarbone. I remembered the smell of the airbag. I remembered the desperate, suffocating feeling of helplessness in the back of that ambulance. But then I walked into the kitchen. Marcus was making pancakes. Emma, now a chaotic and joyful 1-year-old, was sitting in her high chair, smearing blueberries across her face. Grandpa Joe was there, drinking coffee and reading the sports section. "Happy Survival Day," Marcus joked, kissing my cheek. "Happy Thrive Day," I corrected him. We didn't just survive. We thrived. The mail arrived around noon. I went out to get it, expecting bills or flyers. Instead, nestled between a coupon book and a utility bill, was a thick envelope made of expensive stationery. The handwriting was familiar. Loopy, cursive, trying too hard to be elegant. Vanessa. My heart skipped a beat. I stood there on the driveway, debating whether to tear it up. Why now? Was it another invoice? Another lawsuit threat? I walked inside and sat at the kitchen island. Grandpa Joe watched me over his reading glasses. "From her?" he asked. He didn't even need to say the name. "Yeah." "Well," he said, folding the paper. "Open it." Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. I used a butter knife to slit the envelope. Inside was a 3-page letter. "Dear Victoria, I've written this letter a dozen times. I tore up the first 10. I burned the 11th. But I need to send this one. I'm writing to you because I finally understand. I finally get it. When you cut them off last year, I was furious. Mom told me you were abandoning us. She told me you were selfish and greedy, and that you were trying to steal Grandpa's money. I believed her. Because it was easier to believe her than to look at the truth. But then the money stopped coming. Mom and Dad downsized. And suddenly, the dynamic changed. Mom started calling me every day. Not to ask how I was, but to complain. To cry. And then to ask. First it was small things. Can you pick up this prescription? I'm short on cash. Then it was groceries. Then it was, can you cover the electric bill this month? Your father's medication is so expensive. I tried to help. I really did. I gave them $2,000 in December. Mom cried and told me I was the good daughter. It felt nice. For about a week. Then she asked for more. She wanted money for Christmas gifts. She wanted money to fix the car. When I told her I couldn't, that Kevin and I were struggling with our own mortgage, she flipped. She called me selfish. She said I was ungrateful. She brought up every birthday present she ever bought me. She told me I owed her. She used the exact same words she used to use about you. I realized then that I wasn't the golden child anymore. I was just the next host. You escaped, so she needed someone else to feed on. And when I couldn't feed her, she turned on me. Kevin left me last month. He said he couldn't take the drama anymore. He said he married me, not my mother's debts. We're separated. I might lose my house. I'm not writing this to ask for money. I promise. I'm writing this to say you were right. You were right about everything. About the manipulation. About the conditional love. About the cost of being her daughter. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm sorry I attacked you when you were hurt. I'm sorry I chose her over my sister. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect us to be best friends. But I wanted you to know that I see it now. The fog has lifted. Take care of Emma. Don't let Mom near her. Sincerely, Vanessa. I put the letter down. My hands were trembling, but not from anger. From a profound, hollow sadness. I looked at Marcus and Grandpa. I read them the letter aloud. When I finished, the room was quiet. It's a tragedy, Marcus said softly. She lost her husband. She's losing her home. All because she couldn't set the boundary you set. She is learning the hard way, Grandpa said, shaking his head. Some people can learn by watching others get burned. Some people have to touch the stove themselves. Should I call her? I asked. The old instinct to fix things flared up. My little sister is hurting. She's separated. She's alone. Grandpa Joe reached out and covered my hand with his. His skin was paper thin, but his grip was iron. No, he said firmly. Not yet. Why? Because she is still in the middle of the storm, Victoria. If you reach out now, you will get pulled into her chaos. She needs to stand on her own 2 feet. She needs to figure out who she is without your mother, and without her husband. If you swoop in to save her, you are just replacing your mother as the crutch. He was right. As always. Write her back, Grandpa suggested. Keep it short. Keep it kind. But keep your distance. So I did. I wrote a simple note. Vanessa, thank you for your honesty. It took courage to write that. I am sorry for the pain you are going through, but I am glad you finally see the truth. Boundaries are the only way to survive them. I hope you find your peace, just as I found mine. I'm not ready to meet, but I wish you healing. Victoria. I mailed it the next day. And I felt fine. I didn't feel the need to rush to her rescue. I didn't feel responsible for her marriage or her mortgage. I had saved myself. That was enough. 2 weeks later, we celebrated Emma's second birthday. We had a party in the backyard. It wasn't a lavish affair. No catered food, no hired ponies. Just a barbecue. Mrs. Higgins was there, sitting in a lawn chair, watching Emma chase bubbles. Brenda, the paramedic who saved me, stopped by with her husband. Claudia, the nurse I had hired from the ambulance, came too. We had stayed friends, and she was now my go-to babysitter for date nights. I looked around the yard. There was Grandpa Joe, wearing a world's best great-grandpa hat, pushing Emma on the swing set we had bought with the money that used to go to my parents. There was Marcus, flipping burgers, laughing at a joke Brenda's husband told. There was Claudia, helping Mrs. Higgins get a drink. This was my family. Not the people who shared my DNA. Not the people who felt entitled to my paycheck. Not the people who called me dramatic when I was bleeding. My family was the people who showed up. The people who held my hand in the ambulance. The people who answered the phone at 2 a.m. The people who loved Emma not as a consequence or a prop for photos, but as a human being. I walked over to the swing set. Emma saw me and squealed, reaching out her chubby little arms. Mama. Mama. I picked her up. She smelled like sunscreen and grass and pure, uncomplicated joy. I hugged her tight, burying my face in her neck. I got you, baby, I whispered. I got you. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. Whatever it wasn't as important as this. I realized then that the accident hadn't just broken my bones. It had broken the chains. The car crash was the most painful thing that ever happened to me, but it was also the best thing. Because in the wreckage of that Honda Civic, the old Victoria died. The Victoria who was a doormat. The Victoria who bought love. And the new Victoria. The mother, the survivor, the woman standing in this backyard surrounded by genuine love. She was unbreakable. If there is one thing I want you to take away from my story, it is this: you are not a bank, and love is not a transaction. So many of us, especially in our generation, were raised with the idea that family is everything, and that we owe our parents for our existence. We are taught to endure toxicity, disrespect, and financial abuse just because we share blood. But I learned the hard way that loyalty without boundaries is just self-destruction. You cannot save people who are determined to drown, and you definitely shouldn't let them drag you down with them. Real family protects you. Real family shows up when you are in an ambulance, not when they need a mortgage payment. It is okay to say no. It is okay to walk away. It is okay to choose your peace over their expectations. I want to hear from you now. Have you ever had to draw a hard line with a family member? Did you feel the guilt I felt, and how did you overcome it? Or, if you're just glad that Emma and I are safe and happy, please comment the word "good" below. It tells me that we are building a community here that values respect over obligation. Thank you for listening to my journey. You are seen, you are valued, and you are not alone.